Woo! So, we just got back from the craziest trip, traveling all over a place called the Transkei. All these cool landscapes. Dude!
Does it look like I'm gonna shoot anything?
It was absolutely amazing. We captured so much cool footage. We got like over a terabyte of footage within that week that we have to start working through now, which we're doing, and it's looking so cool. It has been so rewarding and fun to shoot some stuff that I've like had in my mind for a long time, and now working through it all is such an amazing feeling and one of the things that I feel like us filmmakers chase. But in today's video, I want to talk to you about sound effects and sound design. It's one of those things that you see a lot of people doing. You see those crazy timelines with all the sound effects, but then when you get to your own project, you're kind of just like, where do I even begin? How do I do this? Like, what do I really do? That's what we're gonna be showing you guys today. So I have a little video of some clips from our recent little travel trip, and I just threw them together in here, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to show you guys how I actually work through my sound design and what my workflow process is to make sure that I am creating something that is super immersive and having those sound effects really take my video to that next level and make it that more professional style of content. So the way I see it, there's three main sound effect types. The first one being ambient sounds. That's something like if you're at the beach, you're gonna hear the waves, maybe the seagulls, and that noise that you would have been hearing if you're at the beach. Likewise, if you're walking through a jungle, there's gonna be jungle sounds and insects and birds and all of those sound effects that you guys are gonna hear if you were actually there. Ambient sounds can also be less obvious things like wind noise, or even if I was sitting in a room like this, there's actually a room tone that is gonna be in the background of your video. Doesn't sound like much, but it's definitely there, and it's not completely dead sound. So that's gonna be the first thing that I do when I start to build my sound effects. The next thing is gonna be essential sounds. Now, these are any sounds that your subject might have. Maybe it's a motorbike riding, you're gonna hear the motorbike engine and the tires on the sand, or it's someone walking, you're gonna hear those footsteps. Then last is the actual sound effects. Now, I kind of categorize these as being any additional effects that wouldn't have been there in real life. Maybe it's a whoosh effect as your camera rushes past something. Maybe it's a build-up effect to release some sort of suspense. Maybe it's a drop, but it's digital sounds and things that weren't necessarily real or things that were actually there when you guys were filming. They're effects, they're add-ons, they're enhancements. Now, if you jump over onto my timeline, you can see here three different colors of sound effects. The first ones, the yellow ones, being my ambient noises. The second ones, the orange ones, being my essential sounds. And the last ones, the pinky purple ones, are my sound effects. Now, this is a relatively simple sound design here. I'm not doing anything too crazy. I just want to demonstrate a couple of different specific things that you guys should know so that you can pull the same type of thing off. For this edit, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like with no back music, no backing track at all, just those raw sound effects and how immersive it can be. But I do also have a track here, and I'll show you guys that at the end. Even if I've built my video to fit that track, the first thing I like to do is just mute the track right here and then just start adding in all my sound effects and building them without having that music there as a kind of distraction. What else is nice about that is you can really hear how each one of those sound effects are going with the clips and how they're flowing with the pacing and everything of your videos. The first thing that I'm gonna do is head over onto Epidemic Sound, which is actually the sponsor of today's video, and they are the place where I get all of my sound effects from, as well as my music. But I can jump over onto there and I can start looking for the sound effects that I want. So the first thing that I'll do is just head over into sound effects. There's a bunch of different categories here that you guys can go through to grab straight up. Have fun with it, explore, get creative. And remember that if you guys want to find out anything more about Epidemic Sound, they are going to be linked in the description. And if you use that sign up link, you get 30 days completely free. So go and check it out. You can use whatever you get in those 30 days, and if you don't like it, you can even unsubscribe from the service, which I am sure you won't. Once I have all of my sound effects, I'll drop them into Premiere and start just moving them through to where I want them to actually go. So here we have a opening drone shot of this cliff, and I added some like ambient wind noise. It's called a windstorm, and it just gives it that nice feeling. Even though you might not necessarily be hearing that in real life, there would be like some sort of wind and waves down in the bottom. Then the next thing I added was actually this whoosh sound that you can hear. And I just have that kind of moving past. As that cliff comes past, it just further accentuates that movement and like brings that clip to life a little bit more. Then we got like some tweeting birds for the jungle and the beach. The water stuff, I got some water noises, and then I got some underwater noises along with some wave noises. And you can see that something that's quite important, especially for something like this, is to start layering your sound effects. You don't just want to use one sound of the thing that is in the video. The more layers you add, the more dynamic it makes it, and the more alive the whole thing comes. So you can see I've got all those sound effects. I got all the motorbike sound effects and everything here as well. So that's basically how I'm gonna lay all of my sound effects out onto those clips and just match them for whatever's in my video. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Having something like Epidemic Sound makes it really easy because you can get any sounds that you want, like the skateboarding ones. Perfect, dude. Then the next thing I want to point out, and something that is so important, is even though in your actual original video the sound would have ended when your video ended, you want to make sure that you're overlapping your audio. So you can see that this ends after the clip ends, this one starts before this one starts, and it's a bit of a preempt to what's happening next. It doesn't have those hard jerks on each one of the movements. So for something like this, you can hear the jungle or the birds and stuff from these two scenes start coming in before the video is actually shown, right? And you can, likewise, you can see for the first motorbike shot right here, we have this first motorbike sound effect that starts along before it. So from here, you can start hearing the motorbike already, right? That's really important. It's gonna make all of them flow into each other. It's gonna make it really smooth and nice. If you just have those hard cuts on each one of the ends of the clips in the beginning of the next clip, it's gonna have these jerking motions and it's really not gonna help sell that effect. The other thing that I've done is just fade them out by putting a crossfade on and fade them in as well. That's just gonna make it even more smooth, that they don't come in too hard like that. The next thing I wanna talk to you guys about is levels and effects that you can apply to your sound. So if you have something that is really close, you are of course going to want that sound to be louder, and then when it cuts to further away, that sound shouldn't be as loud. You also don't want your sounds to be too overpowering and just like dominate your video scene. You want them to be supporting the footage, not overwhelming the footage. So if you notice something like this for this motorbike, we have the levels quite high at -6 decibels here for these close-up shots. And then as we get a little bit further, the levels drop as well. So this is -10, and then these go down to -11 as we kind of get further away. For something like this skateboarding scene, it's the exact same thing where we want our first clips to be pretty loud, 5 and 7, and then further ones like this drone shot are gonna be much lower at -18, just to make it feel like the sound is coming from further away. Just think about it, if you were there, that's what would be happening in real life. Something else I really like to do with a lot of my sounds is apply certain effects. So one of my favorite effects is a low pass filter, and you can find that by heading over to effects and just searching for low pass. You can see that here. You can just drag and drop it onto your clips. Basically what this does is like kind of squashes that sound and muffles it. Sometimes the sounds are too overpowering, and this is a great way to just kind of tone that sound down. I have it on a lot of my clips here, and I'll show you the difference between one that has it and one that doesn't. So you can see for these surfing shots, I have this wave sound effect. It's like some watery background. And I've applied the low pass filter there just because it was too much. Check what it's like without that low pass filter. It still works, but it's just a little bit too much. You can hear the difference. Just like muffles it out. This is really great for stuff when you're doing slow motion as well, because sometimes the sounds are way too loud and they don't match up with your footage, so applying that makes it just sound kind of more slow motion. Then other effect that I like to actually do to my footage is actually slow it down by just right clicking on it hitting speed duration, and you can select the speed that you want it to play at. I generally stick somewhere between around 70% and 90% because I don't want to slow it down too much. It starts to sound really weird. The pitch changes too much. The other effect that I really like to do to my sounds, and if you guys kind of want to take it that next step further, is applying pans from left to right, so you can change the sound effects from which side of the speakers they're going to be playing from. And you can see in this opening clip, the cliff comes in from the right and it kind of whooshes across to the left like that. I have this whoosh sound effect, and it starts off being only on the right and swaps over to only on the left. Which just adds that like little more realistic feeling to it. This is also really simple to do. You can just right click on it, show clip keyframes, panner, and go to balance. Then you can hit Control and add a keyframe and then change them to how you want them to be. I just wanted to take a quick second to talk to you guys about Epidemic Sound, which is the sponsor of today's video. And if you guys are ever looking for non-copyright sounds or music for your videos, Epidemic Sound is the go-to place to get all of those essential sounds and music that you guys are gonna need. They have awesome subscription plans for personal use as well as commercial use. So if you guys are using music for client videos, you can actually get the commercial plan and you can use that music in client videos and still not have to worry about the copyright strikes or any of those issues. They're super affordable, and I never get bored of the music on their site because they're continuously adding new music. I can always find some new fresh stuff to use in my projects. If you guys have made videos before, and if you're anything like me, I'm sure you guys have spent hours, if not days, trying to find the perfect track for the video that you're working on, and Epidemic Sound makes that a whole lot easier by adding all of these different ways that you can filter out the music that you want. So if you guys are creating a project, it's super important, of course, to have the track fit the visuals that you guys are doing. And something that I really love is heading over onto moods, and you can pick the exact mood to fit with your video. There's also other ways you can filter by going to genres, there's featured, and there's even a bunch of little playlists that they've put together that you guys can go through to make sure that you find the perfect track for the video that you guys are working on. Something else that I wanted to mention to you guys about sound effects is that they don't always have to be from what the actual sound is in your video. So I've used some pretty weird stuff, like I've used snowboarding for surfing just because the sound of the snow moving kind of fitted better with the splashing of the water. Footsteps and gravel, weird gravel sounds and pouring gravel for when the dirt bike is riding on gravel and kind of like doing little burnouts and stuff to replicate the sound of the tire kind of pushing out that gravel. So you got to get creative with it sometimes and think of weird little sound effects that could match your video, even if it isn't necessarily what it actually is. The last thing I want to share with you guys before we head out and actually show you how this final video looks is that once I've put my sound effects together, I like to render out the video and watch the video on a device that is going to be playing it most. So if it's a YouTube video, the majority of my viewers for my channel watch my videos on mobile devices. And if you listen to the sound effects and even the music on a mobile device versus something like your headphones or maybe some monitor speakers, it sounds completely different. So you might not hear a lot of the sound effects that you guys have added, and some of the other sound effects might be much too loud compared to what they sounded like when you were editing it. So that's a great little tip. You can just listen to it on your mobile device, or maybe it's a TV that people watch most of your videos on. You can jump back over into Premiere and just tweak things a little bit more and then try again, and hopefully you get it right that time. So don't rely on just how it sounds to you and the device that you're using. Make sure that you think about how the majority of people are going to be consuming that content that you're actually putting out. Now, let's take a little look at how this video actually looks. I'm going to turn on the track that I used for this video because I think it brings it to life a little bit more and introduces a little bit more emotion into this little video piece, which music is such a good tool for doing exactly that. So let me stop talking and show you guys the video and how the sound effects actually play with it. That is gonna be it. Hopefully this helps you, and the next time you guys are putting those sound effects into your video, you can fall back onto some of these things. It is really a fun part of video editing. It's like color grading for your ears, which I've said before, and it's a time in the video editing where you can really like bring that piece to life and make it really much more immersive for the viewer that's watching it. So have fun with it, explore, get creative, and remember that if you guys want to find out anything more about Epidemic Sound, they are going to be linked in the description, and if you use that sign up link, you get 30 days completely free. So go and check it out. You can use whatever you get in those 30 days, and if you don't like it, you can even unsubscribe from the service, which I am sure you won't. But 30 days free, you really can't go wrong with that. So go check it out. It's in at the top of the description. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.